So this is my ChatGPT story. I'm always curious about new technology. So when this stuff kind of came out, I went to their website and I just did some basic things like I put a picture in there and I said, can you clean it up? And every time it did something, it just didn't look right. Somebody had six fingers or their eye looked off and I I said, okay, it's not working for what I was trying to do with it. And I have other software for doing that. But the other day I was thinking, I wonder if it could take a song. I just import a song that I've done because I have a bunch of old songs that I work with bands with, and I'd like to breathe some new life into it. But so I was thinking, what if I could take a song, import it into Chat GPT, and then ask it, can you create a music video for this song that I have? And it said, yes, I can. And then it said, how would you like to do it? And it asks you, do you want it to be character driven? Do you want it to be abstract? Do you want it to be moody? It's asking you all these questions. And then it's analyzing the information. And it says, do you want it as a 4K file rendered at the end or a 1080p? And I said, oh, well, 4K, let's try that. I know it's a big file, but let's see what it'll do. And then it started asking me all these questions, and it even broke down the song. It took the song and it said, okay, here's the intro, here's the chorus, here's the bridge, and here's the chorus, and here's the time for everything, and here's the pictures that we want to put in there. And each picture, it gave me a little description, and he said, well, we'll render those pictures so you could see it. And we'll even do a storyboard for you so you could see exactly what we're trying to do. And then it started asking me questions. Do you like details? Like, do you want, glimmer off the ocean or, things like that? And I go, yeah, that's all sounds great. So it says, okay, well, this is going to take a little while to do. And it says, okay, we're going to do the first rendering. And it's going to take, it was something like, I don't know, 2 hours or something like that. And it said, we will ping you when it's ready. And I said, okay. Well, it never pinged me. So, I waited and waited, and I said, all right, I'll let it do its thing. And then I came back to it and I just wrote, ETA, and it says, oh, we have it ready. And it showed me one picture, and I go, okay, that looks good. And then it started asking me a million more questions. Do you want a white line around the border? Do you want it to be, it just kept on constantly asking me more and more and more questions. And it kept giving me estimates of how long it would take. And bottom line, it said it was going to take something like around 24 to 36 hours to do this whole thing. And it said at the end, it would render a 4K video synced up with the music and sync to the beat of what's going on. And it would send it to me. And I said, well, that's great. So, I kept checking in on it to see what it's doing. And it kept on giving me a timeline. And at the very end, it said, okay, here's all the pictures and here's a script. And you can take this script and put it on your computer and run it. Well, I don't know how to do that. And I said, no, I'd rather you do it. I said, well, we can't render a 4K file. I said, well, can you render a 1080p? And they said, can't do that. And I said, well, this is a little deceiving because at the very beginning, and at this point, I'm arguing with a robot or a ChatGPT. I'm going, it's deceiving and it's misleading a little bit because you said at the very beginning that you could do this. And it responds very quickly. It goes, oh, I see where the misunderstanding is. Yes, I did say that, but unfortunately, I cannot do that. I go, well, could I get a refund? And he said, no, I can't give you a refund, but you would have to talk to our billing department. And then it says, okay, here's how you would get to the billing department. And it says, do you want me to draft the letter asking you for a refund? And I said, okay, that sounds great. So it drafts this whole letter, and the links it was sending me weren't working. And I kept saying, well, the links aren't working. And it kept on telling me different ways to do it. And then finally, I figured it out by myself without the chat GPT. I just went to a chat, copied the letter in there, sent it off. And I got another robot getting back to me. Says, "Well, we're going to analyze this and we'll be back to you." And in about 5 minutes, it got back to me. Says, "Your refund has been processed." But the point of this whole thing is everybody's been talking about AI being so slick and fast. And I mean, for some things, it may be good, but uh, the things it's promising and what it's actually delivering are two separate things going on. And just this little exercise, I would call it, because I asked it to do something. It said it could. And after 2 days or so of waiting for it to render, it says, "Oh, I can't do that." So it's just kind of wasting your time. And I just think it has this AI stuff has a bit to go. I mean, some things very good at, some things I don't need six fingers on people. So there you go. That's my little kind of rant about the Chat GPT. I got my money back, and I'm just curious about it every so often, but it's kind of a whole waste of time. You're better off just doing things by yourself. So there you go.